Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Geoff Dover. With me is John Barban. Let's talk football.
All right, we're doing our way too early picks for the national championship game. So we're recording
way too
this
early. Before the transfer portal, before injuries, before everything.
March 16th. We're just
trying to lock in a little value in these bets.
Catch some value way ahead of way ahead of things here. So some of these guys, who knows what's going to happen? But this is our March pick. So
I'm already looking forward to the season, so this gets me excited for it.
Yeah, maybe we'll do one of these every week and just change our pick. By the end of it, we picked everybody. Okay. So right now I see on FanDuel Ohio State plus 600 is the favorite.
Yeah, I got Ohio State. Again,
a favorite with a first-year starting QB.
Yep. But they're a good team. A really good team.
They're a good team. Texas plus 650. Again, first-year starting QB.
Really good team.
Oregon plus 650. First-year starting QB.
Okay.
Georgia plus 700. First-year starting QB.
Yep.
Then here we go with the repeated slap in the face, Drew Aller and the Penn State Nittany Lions plus 800. So they're just assuming Aller starting his fourth year is just not as good as those guys.
I got it here. Plus
and the
900.
team in general is not as good.
Yeah.
Right. Then I think this one's a little too much. Notre Dame plus 1200 with Angeli, Steve Angeli starting again, another first year starting QB. So here we go. And then on your train here, Tennessee, I have next at plus 1600. So finally a QB, another QB who's had at least a year's experience. Then Alabama's plus 1600, another first year starting QB.
Yep.
Then I see Clemson plus 1800.
Yep. We got plus 2000 here, but yep.
Okay. That's a 4-year starter. And then LSU plus 2000, Garrett Nussmeier, 4-year starter. Ole Miss is plus 2,500. That's going to be a first-year starting QB too.
Yep. And Ole Miss, who we haven't talked about yet. We did our last show. We did our conference picks, and that they weren't even in. They weren't near the top in the SEC. So
but that QB is pretty good. I saw the guy who is going to be starting there. He got some time last year, and he looked good when he was in there.
Yeah.
So I can't remember his name, but I was watching O'Sullivan do a breakdown of Dart, and Dart was out for a few series. And when this kid came in, he just went straight down the field, scored a touchdown. And O'Sullivan's like, you better get back on the field there. This kid's going to take your job, because he's trying to do the analysis for the draft.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, who's this kid? And the guy just looked like he just went straight down the field.
It's just weird that Ole Miss was picked 6th in terms of odds to win the SEC. And then they're
10th here or something.
Yeah,
like
that. It's not for the national championship anyway. It was just funny that way.
All right. So, and then there's Michigan's right there with them. Yeah. And then Texas A&M, who's starting there? So, I mean, I'm always thinking of the QB here, because obviously if your QB is not good enough, it's just not going to matter. And then keeping in theme with my Heisman pick and my SEC pick, I'm picking Florida for the national championship.
Really? Oh, look at you go.
At plus 5,000. Now we're talking about a value pick.
Yeah.
They're obviously not the favorite.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things have to happen here. I mean, they have to navigate a brutal schedule.
This is a really good point about shopping around, because here it's plus 4,000, which is really similar to the odds to just win the conference. You know what I mean? So so your pick is, your conference pick is really good for them, because if you're using this site, because then it's basically the same number for the national championship. So so plus 5,000 if you want to take Florida with the national championship today at time of recording, the FanDuel is the way to go, because that's at least you're getting more for that. But that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so on FanDuel they've got South Carolina at plus 4,000.
Oh, really?
So they're just
here in South Carolina's plus 4,000 too. So
right. So for me, it's a bet on Lagway. I'm just betting on Lagway to have a Heisman caliber season,
to step up in the sophomore year.
Yeah,
bit better team around them, and starting from and stay away from injury and have a good season. And like you said, it's always. They're playing really good teams, but that gives them opportunities for upsets and things.
Well, everyone's playing good teams in the SEC and Big Ten now. It's like it's hard to find a team in those two conferences where the schedule's so favorable.
Yeah.
There's just too many good teams, or there's just not that many you can avoid. Like somewhere along the line, you're going to be up against a team that that's going to be good enough to beat you. At least a few teams that are good enough to beat you. It's not like the old days where Alabama, you can find 1 or 2 teams on the schedule that can get them. It's not like that anymore.
No, and I'm going to end up doing the same thing. I might so I was the same as you. I can't, Ohio State, and Texas are probably, they are the favorites, but at that price, it's just not worth it with the first year starter. Cause anything could happen with that stuff. Yeah. Same thing with Georgia. Oregon, I liked just because it also didn't conflict with any of my other previous picks, on the conferences and stuff. Oregon could win and not mess up anything that I've already picked. I just can't believe Drew Aller is going to be the answer for Penn State to win that national championship. Same thing with Bama or Notre Dame. So I'm sort of left with, it was either Oregon at plus 700 or Tennessee at plus 1800. But with the only difference being, to me, it was the Tennessee has a returning QB and Oregon doesn't, So I'll probably just go with Tennessee again at the plus 1800. Like I did for the SEC championship one. So
you're doing the same thing as me. You're just following your Heisman guy all the way
because
through.
Again, I also think in terms of betting, picking the SEC winner and having them, also in the odds for the national championship's a pretty good bet.
Yeah. And they don't obviously have to win the SEC to get in.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Not this one. Yeah.
These guys can, whatever team we pick to win the national championship could not even make the SEC championship game and still get put in the playoffs. So we have, it's actually, there's more chance for them to make to the playoffs than to win the championship or get to the playoffs and then get into the championship. Right.
That's true.
Versus winning the conference. I mean,
the
conference sort of doesn't mean anything anymore. I think in 2026, it's going to change, I think.
Yes.
And then that game will start mattering.
But at least the seeding might change this year.
Yeah,
right,
that would
for the
be good
playoffs.
if that changes.
So then that will, that would help with the conference championship thing.
I can't believe Auburn's plus 6,000, right there behind Florida.
Yep.
I mean, I guess they expect some of the recruiting and portal decisions.
He's done a good job recruiting.
Yes, he has.
His teams have been good. So.
Again, a new starter there too. It's just so many teams are so ranked so high with new starters. Maybe I'm overvaluing the idea of a returning starter. No, could be. I don't see anybody else here with a really long shot. Do you see a really long shot that you think even has a remote chance here?
No, I don't. All these, every number afterwards looks pretty rough. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just too, because again, the history of the national championship game, it's the same teams have been in it and the same teams are competing for it. So
it has to be a blue chip ratio team.
Yes. And so it's really hard to even take a flyer bet on something because I genuinely don't believe that could happen. So
actually, I think by taking Florida, I've taken the longest odds blue chip ratio team.
You're right.
Unless I don't think is Auburn. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet.
They might be. They might be
right on the cusp.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm trying to look here, after Florida, there's Auburn, SMU, Louisville. None of those are blue chip ratio teams.
No.
Oklahoma,
Arizona State, Kansas State, no. Florida State, no.
No. USC, no. They probably they might be close.
Don't know.
They might be close. With maybe not this year. They might need one more year of good recruiting to be back into a blue chip ratio because they're plus 12,000. But I mean, I just don't. USC's not going to get through the Big Ten. So I think I've inadvertently just taken the longest odds on an actual blue chip ratio team. So that's
it's a good call.
Blue chip. If people don't know, Bud Elliott's blue chip ratio is just above 50% of the roster's 4 and 5 stars, and that's. If you're above 50%.
No one is every national championship winner has had that in history.
About 50%.
Yeah. So you can't win it without it is one way to look at it.
Well, if you bet on that, it'll be the first time it ever happens.
Yeah.
So I guess South Carolina must be above it too. Not by much, but I think they're above it. Well, we'll see.
I don't have much more for the national championship. I've got a bonus pick though for today.
All right, hit me.
So this is the first week of the season. We've got some early lines on the games there. So I've got North Carolina minus 2.5 hosting TCU. I'm going to take TCU plus the 2.5. I think TCU is the better team. They have a returning quarterback. I think people are really excited for North Carolina and Bill Belichick to be there. And so I think that line is I think the better team is is not favored in this one. You know what I mean? And I get it's at North Carolina, but that's not exactly the scariest place to play either. So plus 2.5 for the better team with the returning QB, I'll take that. I think North Carolina is going to be good with Bill Belichick, but I just don't know if they're going to have it all together for the first game.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Do you have any play on the Texas Ohio State game right now? I've got Texas at plus 3.5.
No, I didn't have I mean, it's both teams are good. Both teams have first year guy. I would lean Ohio State, but that's pretty much what I have it at minus 3.5. So I don't have a feeling either way.
No, you don't want to touch that one. The only other one that there's a line here that I kind of want to take is the Michigan Ohio State game. Now that's obviously at the end of the season.
Yeah. But it's weird that they already have that there.
Michigan plus 5.5.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that's not bad, eh? It's at home.
Yes, it's at home, and they're getting 5.5.
Yeah, and Ohio State will probably be. I think Ohio State's a better team than Michigan, so they'll probably be favored going into it. But I don't know if it'll be 5.5 closer to the time. Like it did.
No, I don't think so.
That could go to minus 3 or 2.5 as well. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, assuming, this is in March. This number, right? Yeah. So all kinds of stuff can happen. Players can get hurt. Like
November
a star can emerge. Somebody can just not show up. Who knows? But now
could transfer next week.
Transfers. But if the roster, if everything just stays consistent, like the rosters are kind of what we've seen with the transfer portal and with the recruits, and both QBs show up and play kind of as expected as first year starters, Underwood's just the better QB. Theoretically, he's the number one guy coming out of high school, and he looks like a more complete physical specimen right now.
Okay,
but Ohio State might be the more complete team. But Michigan's defense should just be reloaded.
Hopefully,
so should Ohio State. But Michigan keeps beating these guys.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's not like this season all of a sudden Ohio State has even more talent, bigger talent gap.
There's going to be a lot of pressure on Ohio State.
And you could say Ohio State had the talent gap last year. You could say they did have the talent gap last year, and they still lost.
Yep.
And now it's back in Michigan.
Yep.
With your hometown hero, because this kid played for a high school that was called the Wolverines that wore amazing.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So I'm not saying Michigan's going to win, but plus 5.5 is plenty, I think, for right now. Just assuming right now both teams. Even if it's Ohio State goes into this game 11-1 and Michigan goes in at 8-3, I still think plus 5.5 is a good number.
Yeah, well, that's good for you.
Right. So I'm taking that too. There you go. That's
early one.
A little extra sprinkle right there. So we'll see. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, I don't know. You got anything else right now?
No, that's good.
Okay, and so in the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to do some over/under win totals once we have a chance to look at different conferences. So we'll sprinkle that in throughout the off season. All right, we'll catch you later.